Movement of water up stems. What is transpiration? How does water move through the leaf? How does water move up the xylem? Introduction. So evaporation of water from the leaves is transpiration, which pulls water up the stem. And water evaporates from the leaves via the stomata. So the movement of water out through the stomata. Because the atmosphere is less humid than the air spaces, when the stomata open, the water diffuses from the air spaces to the surrounding air, which means water that is lost from the air spaces is replaced by water evaporating from the cell walls of the mesophyll cells. And plants can control the rate of transpiration by opening or closing the stomata. Movement of water across the cells of the leaf. So water is lost from the mesophyll cells, and then that is replaced by water from the xylem. Movement of water up the stem in the xylem. So water moves up the xylem from the roots to the leaves because of the cohesion tension theory and root pressure. So those are the two things that make water move up the xylem, the cohesion tension theory and root pressure. And unlike transport of sugars in the phloem, water only travels upwards. So what is the cohesion tension theory? Well, water evaporates by transpiration, and water molecules have hydrogen bonds between each other, which make them stick together. That's where the cohesion comes from. And it forms a continuous, unbroken pathway across the mesophyll cells and down the xylem. So as water evaporates from the mesophyll, more water is drawn up behind it due to cohesion because it's a complete column. And when water is pulled up the xylem by transpiration pull, it puts the xylem under tension, i.e. like a negative pressure, a bit like when you're using a straw and it kind of can draw it in. So it's a negative pressure or tension. So that is what is meant by the cohesion tension theory. Cohesion because of the hydrogen bonds between the water molecules which stick them together, but then the transpiration pull creating a negative pressure or tension within the xylem walls. So there is evidence for the cohesion tension theory. The transpiration pull can make water rise about, more than 100 metres in some of the tallest trees, and you can measure the change in diameter of tree trunks according to the rate of transpiration. So on a day the transpiration is high, on a really hot day, there will be more tension in the trunk and therefore the trunk shrinks. So that can be measured. And also, if the xylem is broken in a plant and the air enters, or in the tree, and the air enters, the tree can't draw up water because it needs that continuous column, and if it breaks, then the transpiration pull, the transpiration stream is also broken. So when the xylem is broken, the water doesn't leak out, air is actually drawn in, which is consistent with the tension, it being under negative pressure. So if we look, I've said before that the process of transpiration is passive for the plant, it doesn't require energy. The thing that drives transpiration is actually the sun's energy, not anything to do with the plant. So it is a passive process to the plant. Looking a little bit at the xylem structure, xylem vessels are actually dead. They're made from cells which have died and the end walls are broken to form a continuous column. And they are actually strengthened by these rings called lignin. So they're quite strong, but they're actually made from dead cells. End walls break down to form a continuous column. And that continuous unbroken tube or column is essential for the cohesion tension theory. And the energy for transpiration is driven by heat from the sun. And that is the end of the transpiration topic.